I'm a senior, and I probably have around 3 hours, depending, but usually 3.
I'm in 11th grade, and I get about, now towards the
My name is Rachel, and I have 4 hours of homework.
Like,
with all my teachers combined, it'd be 2 to 3 hours of homework.
Well, I probably get a lot. It depends on if I do the homework or not, because it's like a hard workload. But I would say about 3, at least.
Usually I think about 3 hours, depending on how much reading we have in English.
Probably 3 or 4 if I actually sat down and did it all at once. But usually, like with all the activities and stuff, it's like I do like 20 minutes here.
I'm so excited for senior year.
An hour here.
Senioritis
And
having senioritis.
try to fit the rest of it in like during other classes. So
And just getting.
Probably like 2 to 3 hours. Like, yeah, because the teachers give us a lot of homework in our sophomore year. So that's what I am. I'm a sophomore, so I get a lot of homework.
Okay, so what is your name?
Joan Gill.
Okay, John. So why do you believe there are different educational rates in Washoe County School District if all the schools are under the same curriculum?
Well, I think some teachers are more effective than others. I think sometimes parents put more pressure on students to succeed, and I think maybe students are just different in themselves.
Okay. Do you think that race, family, social standing, and income play a big part?
I don't think it's social standing as much as a tradition that supports education, and the parents push the children to do their homework. It's the tradition of that more than social standing.
Okay. What is the solution to make schools more equal?
Competition.
Okay. In other countries, money travels with each student, making education more competitive. What is your opinion on this method?
I think that might be what we need to do, is to make schools places where the students want to be, and then we won't have the students sitting there taking up space when they don't want to be there and dragging everyone else down with them.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Liz Walsh, and I teach sophomore English and yearbook, and I also monitor an independent study hall.
Why do you believe there are different educational rates in Washoe County School District if all the schools are under the same curriculum?
While we have all the schools under the same state standards, what we tend to find is that each teacher approaches these standards in a different way. So sometimes it can be a teaching issue, but more accurately, it's usually an issue reflecting the cumulative education of a student by the time that they reach high school. And so if students have moved around a lot, or if students have not been given support at home, or if families have other turmoil going on, something like that might be something that would affect the success of the students even more than what they're receiving in the actual classroom.
Do you think race, family, social standing, and income play a big part?
I think they can play a part, but I don't know if they necessarily play a big part. I would say that to a certain extent, social standing and social ability to pay for things sometimes can help students, because if parents have extra money, then they can pay for tutoring, and sometimes students who might have slipped through the cracks because their parents are paying for tutors actually can achieve a little bit more, whereas if your parents don't have money to pay for a tutor and they don't have the ability to help you, then you may not be able to rise to that particular standard.
What is the solution to make schools more equal?
I don't necessarily know if we can make schools more equal until we can make every single student have an equal family life, an equal home life, and equal preparation from the very beginning. I don't necessarily think that that's what America's about either. I think that everybody needs to think about what they want to get out of the educational system, and they need to actually spend the time and the effort. If they want something good, they've got to put good into it. School isn't really about just getting an education. School is about working for an education. So until the students are ready to work hard for that education, they can't necessarily achieve it.
In other countries, the money travels with each student, making education more competitive. What is your opinion on this method?
I don't necessarily know that making things competitive is going to change our educational system. We've already got private schools and we've got people who want to pay for an education doing that. I don't necessarily know or believe that paying for an education makes the education any better. I've been in situations, I've taught in private school as well as public school, and I've seen the students that come out of both private and public schools, and sometimes the education in the public school is far advanced compared to the private school. So paying for education doesn't necessarily guarantee that anybody's going to get a better education. And if we're talking about competing public schools as far as charter schools and public schools, I've seen lots of charter schools fail pretty quickly because while they have maybe a good idea at heart, it ends up falling apart because of either bureaucracy, money mismanagement, or simple teacher mismanagement. So there are a wide variety of reasons that charter schools don't necessarily succeed, even though they have all the same money as public schools.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Mike Potter. I teach math at Reno High School.
Why do you believe there are different educational rates in Washoe County School District if schools are under the same curriculum?
Well, we have to remember every student's different, and there's lots of variables involved in education.
Do you think that race, family, social standing, and income play a big part?
Absolutely. I think it plays a huge part.
What is the solution to make schools more equal?
Well, that's a very complicated question, and I'm sure that they would be more equal if anybody knew a good answer to that. But I think that we need to try to find a balance between mixing all the different variables, one of them being or I guess multiple being the socioeconomic and family and whatever the list you said there. But I think that would be important to try and balance that.
In other countries, money travels with each student, making education more competitive. What is your opinion on this method?
I think that it's worth looking into. It's all very complicated and very difficult to understand, but I think it would be worth looking into.
Thank you.
My name is Mr. Maddock. I teach math, algebra, and geometry, and I'm the JV head football coach.
How close do you think you are with your students?
I think I have a pretty close relationship with my students. I don't like to cross the friend line, but I get along with all of them, and I make sure I gain their respect at the beginning of the year. And as soon as they respect me, I can respect them. That's kind of the philosophy I live by. Is you earn respect, you're not given respect.
Do you believe it's important to build a strong relationship?
Absolutely, yeah. Strong relationships are good. Kids have to be able to approach you and feel comfortable approaching you, asking you questions with something in class, come to you for something outside of class. So yeah, good, strong relationships are important for me as a teacher.
What do you think is more important? To have a close relationship with the student but an easy class, or a distant relationship with the student and a rigorous class?
Right now, unfortunately, it's all about standards and passing the test. So rigorous classroom is about how it goes. So if I can't develop a close relationship with a student, but I can get the material across to them, I think of that as a success in the current day that we're living in. If it was 10, 20 years ago where we're not trying to meet standards and pass tests, I would say it's more important to have a close relationship. But the current day, definitely getting through the tests and making the numbers meet.
What would help a teenager more, having knowledge or strong bonds?
Again, goes back to the last question. I think now it's knowledge. I think when a child leaves high school, they should have a foundation of knowledge to make them successful at whatever their next step is in their life, whether it be college or a job, but they definitely need knowledge as a base to build off of when they leave this building.
Thank you.